Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
And we're the Classic Gaming Brothers.
Yeah.
What
we
the
are.
hell is that?
I don't know.
Should I say heck? I don't know. Well, I think hell's kind
I
of
think
low.
I think we're allowed a couple of hells before it becomes like PG-13.
Yeah. we're definitely a G-rated podcast.
We're like a PG-rated podcast.
That's true. I would say definitely a PG-rated podcast. So, welcome to our 23rd episode of Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right. 23.
That's very exciting. We're almost to the renting of a car age.
We are. We're in that weird middle ground where nothing happens.
Nothing happens, and that's pretty much it. So, this episode happens, though.
Yeah, exactly. 23 episodes. Wow. We've come a long way.
We've come a long way. But that's it. All right, so what have you been recently been playing, Zach?
I've been recently playing 8-Bit Hordes, which came out in 2016. So 8-Bit Hordes. Yes, Hordes. Like I said, we're a PG-rated podcast.
Not 8-Bit.
Right. So 8-Bit Horde, like a lot of people, like a horde of people, is a follow-up to a game I never played, which was called 8-Bit Armies, which was created by Petroglyph Games. 8-Bit Hordes is a real-time strategy game that has gameplay similar to both Command & Conquer and Warcraft. It is set in a fantasy realm similar to Warcraft, where you're playing as either an orc race or a human race, and you have to fight each other. The gameplay has a lot of mechanics that they've taken from Westwood Studio games in terms of how buildings are managed, how your units are crafted, and how to manage your resource gathering units. So like a lot of Westwood games, at least the ones I've played, like Dune 2 and some of the Command & Conquer games, all of your resource collecting guys do their job automatically, and there's kind of one main menu in order to build buildings and units so you don't have to worry about clicking on each individual building and building units and stuff like that. So it has some nice quality of life features. So far, I've been really enjoying it. It has kind of a Minecrafty, blocky 3D aesthetic, which I think kind of works well with the style of game, and it's nice to play a real-time strategy, like a proper real-time strategy game that isn't like a million years old. So it's nice to play something that's on kind of a modern engine that runs at modern speeds and that runs well on modern computers.
Is it fast-paced?
It is fairly fast-paced, yeah. Once you get into combat, you're kind of like blowing through enemies, and enemies will kind of swarm at you. So it has some fast-paced elements. I've been mostly going through the campaign, which the first kind of grouping levels are just tutorial stuff, but I've kind of passed the tutorial. I'm entering into the main kind of chunk. The campaign storyline isn't really there, but it has a lot of campaign elements similar to Warcraft. You're building up your base, and then you're attacking an enemy base, or you're trying to get from point A to point B, like with like an escort or something like that.
So for me, I guess a lot of those RTS games have some like iconic high tier units. You have like your battle cruisers with StarCraft. You have your dragons in Warcraft 2. And the Griffin Rider in Warcraft 2. Does it have any like high end tier, like the high tech tree type units?
Yeah, there is a tech tree, so you can build dragons. You can build like zeppelins, I think.
That's cool.
Something that you can build. There are catapults, different like siege units.
Did the catapults move without anybody?
Right, yeah. The sentient catapults.
The sentient catapults.
So it has a lot of those type of I think you can like build like ogres, like they're like big green trolls that have clubs.
That's cool.
kind of like in Warcraft 2 you have the ogres, the two-headed ones. So it has a couple of similar elements like that. So that that's nice.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. I'll probably be playing more of it either later today or maybe one of my streams. I'll play a little bit of it.
Yeah, that'd be cool to check out.
What about you, Seth? What have you been recently playing?
So recently I've been playing a game called Broforce. We actually mentioned this a long time ago.
Yeah.
In a podcast, in one of our earlier episodes where we talked about shopping and looking for like kind of like a game that could be played on like a lower system,
right? Yeah,
that may not have a lot of graphical computing power. So the Broforce is a game where it's published by Devolver Digital. It's a game where you control these. They're called like bros, and they're different style of like. Think of like Steven Seagal, Terminator type people, and each one has their own little gimmick power, but can only get hit once and then they're dead. And there are some maps where you have to you can't die once and you only have one bro. And then there's other maps where you can rescue other bros. And so when you rescue another bro, you gain an additional life, but you switch over to a random bro. So you may be playing as like maybe a bro that's got like the Men in Black bro who's got like the little cricket and which can like shoot really far and have like a big explosion, but throws you back. But then you may rescue somebody and then you may get the Indiana Jones bro where you now have a whip and a pistol. It's a different game style for every bro and how you play through the game. The game's kind of like, it's 2D platformer, it's like a side scroller, 2D side scroller where it's got a very destructible environment similar to like Terraria. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's almost like Terraria with explosions. There's like enemy bases and you have to go through the enemy base and either sneak up on them because you can only get hit once. So then you have to sneak up on them or you just go and blowing up everything. And right. It's cool kind of figuring out the levels. It's very easy to die and lose, but it's very like it knows that you're going to die and lose. So like you can restart pretty quick, and you could play one level like 30 times and you'd be having fun, and you wouldn't feel like you've wasted your time or anything.
Right.
It is also multiplayer. You can get up to 4 bros at once, and you can also do remote play with it, so you can invite people who don't own the game to play the game with you, and you can stream over it. So it's the couch play that Steam has. You can also just connect to somebody else's game. It's also got a drop-in, drop-out functionality, so if you see one of your friends playing Broforce, you can just join their game, play around for a little bit, and then just leave. It's not like you can join an in-progress game. It doesn't matter. It's pretty cool. I enjoy it. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been kind of a good so after beating like My Friend is Pedro, I felt like I needed another Devolver Digital game.
I don't blame you.
So now I just have Broforce. Devolver Digital games are really good for like just sitting back with like a controller and just like having a good time and not really thinking about like the story or plot. It's Broforce. There's no real story or plot in Broforce.
I do like that in Broforce, one of the countries in the in like the world map is Arstrotska, which is the country from Papers, Please, which is a very different game than Broforce.
Which is it also published by Devolver Digital? No.
Papers, Please was developed by Lucas Pope, and it was also, I think, published by Lucas Pope.
Oh,
it was published by 3909 LLC, which is Lucas Pope. That's his company. So
perfect.
So that's awesome. I love Broforce. It's one of my favorite. I streamed a bunch of it during Extra Life a few years back. It's
we can play that.
Yeah, we definitely should.
That's actually, we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's not for a while. So this podcast will be coming out the second Sunday in May.
Mm-hmm.
So in November, Zach and I will be doing a 24-hour live stream in support of Extra Life, which is a charity organization that gives money to good things.
Yeah.
And involves, in order to raise that money to playing video games for 24 hours and have donations. So we will have more information about our Extra Life charity stream down the pipe, closer to November, since it's May.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this podcast and it is closer to November of 2020, then get ready to watch our stream. It'll be fun.
And have your wallets ready to donate to a good charity.
So yeah, exactly. So we'll be more on that as the weeks go on. But yeah, we'll definitely probably play some Broforce doing that, because we'll have 24 hours to play some video games.
Yeah. We'll probably put together a whole itinerary.
Oh, a deck.
Yeah. And we'll probably share it to get some,
so you can tune in on when we're playing the games that you want to be playing.
Exactly. And also to get some input, we'll probably share it early to get, any suggestions that people have if we want to fill up some time.
All the really good games, 3 a.m.
Oh,
just
yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. I'll probably do a full Sonic run. I did that one of the last years.
Yep.
I did that at like 4 a.m.
the really bad games in the middle of the afternoon.
Oh, the really bad games are going to be when we're like pumped up on coffee.
Yeah. So when you're ready to watch, we're going to play some really bad games. When you're ready to go to sleep, we'll be playing the good games.
Oh yeah, we're going to be playing games that you never even heard of. That's how good they are.
So speaking of a really good game, let's segue into the topic of the week here. We'll go back and do our one game format here for this episode, and we're gonna talk about a game that was Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
Yeah, the third game in the Elder Scrolls franchise. We have not talked about any of the other ones. We probably will, but we haven't.
No. Why the third one? Because why not?
Yeah,
I think you've come to realize that we choose games at random.
Yeah, we also have a tendency to talk more about sequels like Sonic 2 than we talk about I think we talked more about Sonic 2 in our Sonic podcast than we did.
Sonic 2 is good though.
But yeah, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which was a game created by Bethesda. It's a role-playing game, and it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's also very large and long.
Yes.
And came out in 2002. And Zach, what are your memories of Morrowind?
My memories of Morrowind were later than 2002, when Skyrim came out, which I think was 2010 or 2011. I might be wrong. But when Skyrim came out, I finished that. And then I decided I was going to get into more Elder Scrolls games because I knew there was more out there. And I ended up picking up a copy of Oblivion, and I ended up picking up a copy of Morrowind around the same time. I got the Game of the Year editions for both. And then I played a little bit of Morrowind. I did not end up finishing it. I think at the time, this was back when I was still in high school, and while I thought it was visually impressive for what it was capable of at the time, I think going from Skyrim to Morrowind was a bit of a jarring thing for me, so I kind of fell off of it. I didn't really get too far in the game, but I am planning to revisit it within the near future. But my memories of it are like, I think the coolest thing for me was, despite the graphical limitations, is seeing the like towering figures of some of the like creatures. Like there are these bug creatures that you can ride.
Oh, the Silt Striders.
Yeah, they essentially act as fast travel, so you don't actually see your character like riding them, but you climb up to one and stuff. But you can see them from a distance, and in the kind of the fog of the game, that render fog, they look pretty almost Lovecraftian in the distance of these like towering monsters.
Yes.
So that was something I thought was cool.
So it was 2011 that Skyrim did come out.
Oh, okay.
And so fun fact, so you were playing Skyrim when you were in high school. I was playing Morrowind when I was in high school.
There's that age difference.
And we had Oblivion in between. I played Oblivion when I was in college.
Oh, okay.
Oblivion was one of the first few games that I actually played in my dorm when I moved into college.
Oh.
Morrowind I played in mid-high school. The first time I don't know if you were there, but I was over a friend's of the family, or at least my mother's friends, and her daughter had Morrowind and showed me Morrowind. And it was cool.
Okay. Yep.
It was a really cool game. I think my favorite part about Morrowind was that you could take everything. There's no other game that I played, because I didn't play Arena or Daggerfall.
Yeah.
And So Morrowind was my first interaction with a first-person RPG. So I'd played CRPGs. I played in middle school, the Baldur's Gate series, and a lot of classic role-playing isometric games where you go into these essentially these drawn areas, and you can interact with what the game designers want you to interact with.
Yeah.
Morrowind is all 3D rendered, and it's first-person.
Oh, yeah.
And you can interact with pretty much everything. So if you want to take the pans and the pillow from the person's bed, you can. And my first character was a Khajiit thief, and I stole everything. And I would enter through people's, I would be like a cat burglar because Khajiits are cats. And I would climb in through the second story, and I'd go in and I'd steal stuff. I didn't know what the plot was. I didn't know what the story was. I didn't know anything about the game, apart that I could go into everybody's house and just rob them blind. And I thought it was beautiful. That was enough for me. So another part of one of my other memories of Morrowind is, so I have two distinct memories. One was when you leave the first town, as you walk on a path, a man comes falling and crashes to the earth.
Oh, yeah.
And he does so because he has these boots of what are supposed to be like slow fall, like they're jumping boots that he wanted to make into flying boots, and he wanted to revolutionize the fast travel of the world by making these jumping boots. You can loot his body, and he has a message that talks about his boots that are jumping, and then you can wear his boots and you can jump and you will immediately die.
Yeah.
And a game like that doesn't give you any explanation, and to be honest, they didn't really have really good save systems back then. So if you could entirely possible to build a character, leave the first town, interact with this guy, take his boots, put them on and jump and die without ever saving.
Right.
And you'd pretty much have to restart the game.
Yeah.
And that was okay, back then. Another, cool, fun item that I thought was cool was there was boots that you can find that were blinding and haste. So they were blinding speed boots. So I played this orc who was like a fighter character, and I wielded 2 axes, which was a cool feature in its own right, being able to dual wield. So I'm this dual wielding orc with 2 axes, and I got these boots of blinding speed. And the game, so they're called Boots of Blinding Speed, they increased your speed by 100 or 200%, and they also decreased your vision by 100%.
Good.
And the game, because it was a first-person game, actually made your screen darker so that you couldn't see.
Good.
So I would just put these boots on, and I could run so fast that I could actually move around the very large continent that is Morrowind. I could run around it and be faster than fast travel. It can get around the map. And what I would do is I would put the boots of speeds on, and then I would just run into people, smashing my left and right mouse button to use my axe hands, and just kill them that way. And it was an effective strategy. It worked. It was a brutal method, though. That character was more of a sledgehammer than a chisel, as it were. So those were my memories of good old Morrowind.
And I think what's cool about the Elder Scroll games as a whole, is Morrowind especially, is that in my opinion they're the closest you get in an RPG game to feeling like some of the nuance and the openness of tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons, the whole idea, like Seth described, of sneaking into someone's house and stealing a pillow. Like if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you're like, I steal the guy's pillow, your dungeon master will usually try to work with that somehow,
Right.
So it's that kind of game, it allows you to really be as open and free as you want.
Right.
You can effectively do whatever you want and barely play the main storyline if you really don't choose to. The main storyline will progress your character, but you can spend a good chunk of the time just doing side quests.
Yeah, Bethesda is actually really well known for having more side quest content than main quest content, and being able to be easily distracted by side quest for thousands of hours. The Ultima series was a pretty good. It was an inspiration to the Bethesda series of the Elder Scrolls series, as the Ultima series was also quite open in the ability to do stuff, especially like Ultima, like the online version and also the offline versions. Yeah. They had some free reign in there. Definitely not, but the Ultima series was also it was a different style of graphics. It wasn't
right.
First person 3D rendered. There were two other Elder Scrolls games that came before. Well, there were two main Elder Scrolls games that came before Morrowind. The games of Arena and Daggerfall. And we won't talk too much about them. I feel like Arena and Daggerfall together can probably be their own thing.
Yeah. So Arena and Daggerfall are very cool for the time that they came out, which was 1994 for Arena and 1996 for Daggerfall. For just a brief, and we can elaborate on these in a later episode, but just a brief on Arena and Daggerfall. They are both massively open world games. Arena, I think, is the entirety of the country of Tamriel, and or maybe it's Daggerfall. I know one of them is the entirety of Tamriel, which is the country or the continent that your character is on. And you can also, I think one of the maps up until like recently with the release of No Man's Sky, one of the maps was the largest video game map ever, like larger than Grand Theft Auto 5, larger than Just Cause. It was massive. And this was back in the 90s. And they have that open world sense that the Elder Scrolls games are kind of best known for. They did have some weird gameplay quirks, though, that they took out of Morrowind. In both Arena and Daggerfall, the way you swung a sword, for example, is you actually shook your mouse on screen. So like you held onto your mouse and you just kind of moved it back and forth, and your character would swing in movement with your mouse, which was cool, but apparently very obnoxious in heated parts of the gameplay. So in Morrowind, they took that out. They changed it to just clicking. So when you click, your character swings, which I think is a much more effective way of combat as opposed to shaking your mouse up and down to get the sword to swing. But they're both very, 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 very large open world games. Arena is kind of cool in the sense that it was originally designed to be an arena game, in the sense it was supposed to be a fighting game, and like, you know, you would go toe to toe with different champions, and then the team realized they were having more fun creating side quests, and they scrapped that entire thing, but they had already got the artwork designed, so they kept the name Arena, and that stuck. But yeah, those were the two mainstream Elder Scrolls games that came out before Morrowind. But there's two other games, Seth.
There were two other the other games. So though, just to go back to what you were saying with Daggerfall real quickly, Daggerfall was the size of Great Britain.
Right. Okay.
It had 15,000 towns and a population of 750,000 NPCs. So it was that was I believe the larger of the two games. Though it was critically successful. Daggerfall did. People loved Daggerfall. People also really enjoyed Arena. So Arena and Daggerfall were like the jam, and they found this audience of people who really loved vast open worlds with deep role-playing elements and being able to really... They reward you for role-playing your character. Right. It gave you skill points based on what you were doing, because like if you wore heavy armor or you hit things with your sword, you get better with swords versus getting better with axes, kind of deal. And it made sense. And that type of system they kept, and they still do with even their newest games. There were the two other games that they created post Daggerfall was a game called An Elder Scrolls Legend Battlespire and The Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard. Battlespire, you have more familiarity since you own it.
So I do own Battlespire. I think I've played a little bit of it. It is originally was designed to be a expansion to Daggerfall, but they realized they wanted to kind of get to work on this new engine they were working on. So they transitioned it to a standalone title. you play, if I remember correctly, it's not really open world. You're inside of something called the Battle Spire, which is this like multi-floored tower, and each floor has enemies that you have to fight, and they get kind of progressively harder. The game has, the standard Elder Scrolls RPG elements, but as they were trying some new stuff out with this new engine, it also has a lot of bugs. For example, you can shoot your arrows while you're still in the pause menu. You can also... You'll also notice that the spell casting hand is the same hand as the hand that's holding your sword. And by that, I mean your character will have his sword equipped, and you will see the sword. And then if you cast a spell, the sword will stay static on screen, and a hand will just come into the screen and cast a spell while the sword is still there. So it has some very weird quirks that they did not patch out. Because of that, it is often regarded as one of the worst Elder Scrolls games of all time.
But wait, there's more. Yeah. There is in fact an even worse game.
That's right.
So Battle Spires did introduce something that no other game beyond Elder Scrolls Online did. It did allow multiplayer gaming in an Elder Scrolls game with player versus player deathmatch, and was the only one to do that until 2014 when Elder Scrolls Online was released. Redguard was released in 1998. And instead of being a role-playing game, which the people who have been buying the Elder Scrolls game enjoyed, it was just an action-adventure game, akin to Tomb Raider or Prince of Persia, or those type of games where you play as a character, like Lara Croft, and you go through a story that is linear. That is what this game was. You played as a really interesting character named as Cyrus the Redguard, who does not sound remotely exciting. And you would go through this action adventure game that was too actiony for adventure gamers to like, and too adventure-y for action gamers to like.
Right.
And did not like, in role-playing, there was no role-playing, because you couldn't build your own character, you couldn't build your own skills, you just played this Cyrus, so the role-players didn't like it. So nobody liked it. And both Battle Spires and Redguard performed very poorly, and were the probably the worst performing games that Bethesda has ever released.
At least at that.
Correct. So, but while they were working on Daggerfall, they were thinking about making Morrowind.
Yes.
So, because they were thinking about Morrowind while they were making Daggerfall, they thought Morrowind was going to be a much grander project. So they didn't rush it out immediately after Daggerfall, because it was 6 years before Morrowind came out.
Right.
Where Battlespire and Redguard came year after year. So they could develop a game in a year. They felt Morrowind was going to be the next big thing. And it was. They, in fact, tripled their staff when they were developing Morrowind. And during that phase, they actually created what's known as the Elder Scrolls Construction Set, which essentially is the precursor to the creation kit that they have today, and is the software that they use in order to make their games. Mm-hmm. So the games prior to Morrowind were not done in the creation set that they usually do now, including all of their newest games like Fallout 4 and even Fallout 76 was created in this construction kit. Not the original, not the Morrowind construction set, but they have an updated one. They eventually pushed out a couple of expansions for Morrowind. They released Tribunal, and then they released Blood Moon. They actually just kind of let them out. They didn't really hype them up. They just released them. Eventually, they released the Morrowind as a whole package. You can get it was like a box set. You can get Morrowind, Tribunal, and Blood Moon together. Mm-hmm. And Tribunal was cool. It added vampires and the ability to become a vampire, which is very cool, and a theme that they revisit time and time again.
Oh yes.
So they revisit that in Skyrim, and I also believe they do revisit that in Oblivion. And then they also, Blood Moon was werewolves, so you could become a werewolf. And it added new factions. The one thing that I thought was interesting was with Morrowind was the competing so to step back a little bit, in Oblivion and in Skyrim, you can do multiple, there's different guilds that you can join. You can join the Warriors Guild, you can join the Mages Guild, you can join the Thieves Guild, you can join the Assassin's Guild. You can join all these guilds with any character and work your way up through the quest chain and become the leader of the Warriors Guild and the Grand Mage at the same time. They don't conflict. And the same with Skyrim, same with Oblivion. Skyrim has some stuff where there's like the Nords versus the Imperials where you have to make a decision. I don't think you can go up both of those trees at the same time because that's the main story. Morrowind had like different houses and guilds that conflict each other out. So you couldn't progress in, it would actually, you wouldn't be able to progress further in the house's quest line because the other house, you progress too far in the other house's guild, other house's quest line. Yeah. So it made it for such a vast game. So that could kind of put people off because now you're like, I got to replay this 60, 70 hour game just to see what is that other quest is.
Right.
But also it makes more, I feel like it adds more like trueness to the world. It makes the world feel more alive if you can't be, you can't be the leader of every guild, right? It makes sense, right? There's competing guilds, which in Oblivion and Skyrim you can be, it's fine. And I think that it just was an interesting take that Morrowind had that was not reflective in later series that they departed from. Morrowind was also, I remember getting my copy of Morrowind, and I remember getting the map. And that game, as Zachary alluded to, the fast travel, you had to go to a Silt Strider, which was a large bug-like creature, to go and fast travel. You could not fast travel without going to that Silt Strider. So you, like in Oblivion and Skyrim, you could just fast travel anywhere. You can just stand and you just click on your map. As long as there's no enemies around, you can just fast travel. Morrowind, you could go to your map, but you needed to go to a Silt Strider to take it was essentially a taxi. Or else you're walking. I remember having the actual map and being able to like use that physical map as reference. And the game was complicated enough. We've talked about this before, bringing into like physical mediums and stuff like that. And Zach mentioned before about one of his friends who had a journal that was done up for Skyrim.
Right, yeah.
I feel like you needed a journal for Morrowind. You may not have necessarily, like having a journal for Skyrim is fine and dandy. But Skyrim gives you enough tracking and stuff like that you can manage playing the game without going into any physical medium. Morrowind doesn't do that. Like Morrowind, keeping the quest straight is hard enough, and you get a lot of heavy dialogue, and there's a lot of things that they just throw at you. There's very little hand-holding in Morrowind. You start off, you design your character, and you just start off, you're in a boat, and you get off a boat. And that's where the game starts. Like, that's right off the bat. You are in this town, off this boat, and you go and you start talking to people, and you don't really have this memory, and you're just trying to keep up. I think you're not a prisoner, but
I thought it was a prison boat.
You might be a prison. You might have been released from prison.
It's Elder Scrolls. You're always a prisoner.
You're always a prisoner. But so you end up making your way through the world. I remember playing through the game, and then I remember going back and being like, I think I missed something. And I missed the entire main storyline. I missed joining the Blades and stuff like that. Like, I just missed the game. Yeah. But I still had fun playing Morrowind, and it's a game that I'd like to revisit. I'd love if they'd remaster it. I think it would be a great remaster. I think Oblivion's also a really great game. But I think overall though, I think Morrowind's got it's just a solid role playing game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so I think that about wraps it up on Morrowind. I don't really have much else to say about it. I don't know if Seth wants to add on anything, but I think the Morrowind is cool in the sense it definitely, I think, established what we came to know as what is the kind of formula of the Bethesda style of RPG games. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they introduced into Morrowind, which obviously they took cues from Daggerfall and Arena, but when it came to Oblivion and Skyrim, they took cues from Morrowind.
Right.
When it came to Fallout 3, it took cues from Morrowind. Kind of became the trendsetter for the open world RPG that Bethesda had developed.
And I would even say like games like The Witcher and
100%.
large open scale role playing games like that took their at least inspiration from Morrowind because Bethesda did it first.
Right. Yeah.
Like Bethesda was there, they did obviously Arena and Daggerfall, but I feel like specifically Morrowind got that love around it where people are like, wow, this is something, and drew not only people who enjoyed video games but also tabletop gamers. I think were really inspired to play games like Morrowind because of how in depth it was. And I think first-person 3D was something revolutionary for the time.
I think that about wraps it up for Morrowind. We are definitely going to revisit the Elder Scrolls series. Maybe we'll do an episode or a stream on some of the older ones. I have a copy of Battlespire. Maybe I'll pull that out for a stream sometime. But I think that'll about wrap it up for our Morrowind episode. Seth, we're going to go into our buy, wait, pass now. What game out there do you want to buy, wait, or pass on?
While I was cruising the old Steam shop, as it were, I came across a game that I was intrigued by. So there are games that genuinely intrigue me where I either have I already know about them, or they're in a genre that I like, and there's something that I'm already like interested in. So I'm like, it's a game that's like it's got murder, noir, cyberpunk, something like that. Usually draws my attention because it's the type of like genres that sit with me.
Yeah.
Then there's other games that I just get drawn in because of what they are, and this game is one of those latter, and that is Lumberjack Dynasty, where it's a life simulation where you are a lumberjack. And you're building up a business and founding a lasting dynasty. Destiny. I guess you're founding your lasting destiny of being a lumberjack, but you're doing a founding dynasty for generations to come. And it's a game where you play as a lumberjack, and you have to chop things down with your chainsaws, and you build up your lumberjack empire. And while I was looking at this game and looking at that there were other games, there is also a game called Lumberjack Simulator, which looks like it's done by the same people who do like Farming Simulator.
Right, yeah.
That's like running like a lumberjack like farm with like heavy equipment.
Okay.
Lumberjack Dynasty is like you wear flannel and have a chainsaw.
So one is like lumberjacks as a profession, and the other is like lumberjacks as a lifestyle.
Exactly. And Dynasty is that of the lifestyle. So it is an early access game, and went into early access on April 30th. And it's definitely a game that I'm going to wait on. Part of the issue is that it is a single player game, and I feel like simulation games like these are fun for a little while, but are definitely, I think, more enjoyable when you can play them as multiplayer.
Yeah.
Maybe if I buy it, I'd stream it and maybe have you watch, or you could play and I could watch. That could be fun, because I feel like this game could be hilarious if there's multiple people watching and enjoying it at once. Me playing this game by myself with nobody watching, I don't know if that's 100% me. So I'll put it on a wait, and we'll see. Maybe you'll see some Lumberjack Dynasty in the near future. If not, if you ever had the desire to be a lumberjack, there's a few games that you could buy. Lumberjack Simulator is mixed reviews, so be forewarned, but mixed reviews doesn't mean it's a bad game.
That's right. I mean,
means
I enjoy plenty of games that have mixed reviews.
Yeah, but you're also a sadist.
Yes.
Or a masochist. So what are you interested in buying, waiting, or passing on?
So the game that I am talking about today for my buy, wait, pass is a game called Spy Party.
Yes.
Spy Party is an espionage game. It's about subtle human behavior. A spy hides in plain sight at a fancy cocktail party, and you're trying to accomplish missions while blending in with other guests, while a sniper with a single bullet looks inward, searching for the spy. So Spy Party currently is a 1v1 game where one person plays as the spy, one person plays as the sniper, and the sniper's trying to find the spy, and the spy is trying to do spy things. I think it is a really cool idea for a game. It kind of reminds me of like a murder mystery or The Ship, which is a game that Seth and I should play sometime. That's a fun game.
It's a hilarious game.
So it seems like a really cool game. I like the idea of it, and I've seen some gameplay footage of it. However, I think I'm going to currently put it on a pass for the moment just by the price point, and that's it. Unfortunately, I mean, I understand with indie games, it's only a couple of guys I think working on this game. The developer is a dude and the publisher is a dude. It's like not a company's name. But currently it's about $25. I don't know if I can get $25 worth of game time out of it. I kind of want to get the game maybe when it's on sale, and also maybe buy a couple of copies so I can give them out to people. Maybe buy like 2 or 3 copies, maybe give one to my brother, give one to a couple friends of mine. So currently I'm going to put it on a pass. I did throw it on my wish list so that I can monitor it for any sales, and who knows, if I end up buying it, I will probably let people know.
So there we go. That is our Morrowind episode. It's a fun episode there.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a number of ways that you can support us, listen to us, or contact us.
Tell me about those ways, Seth. I want to know.
So you can support us by liking, subscribing, sharing, telling 3 friends about our episode, about our podcast. If there's a friend that likes a particular game, perhaps we've done a podcast on it already, and you can direct them to that particular podcast. We do recommend picking a la carte, kind of like what you want to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always go chronologically, though if you're referring this podcast to somebody, we always recommend, picking up maybe a later episode. Our first couple of episodes, we do take a little while to get into our stride, as it were.
Yeah, I think so.
And we're always trying to, and I hope I can say that in 20 more episodes about our 20s episodes.
That's right.
That the product is just hopefully getting better. And if you wish to tell us how the product is getting better or what we could do to make it better, you can always contact us. And you can contact us at classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, which is also classicgamingbrothers.com. And you go to the contact form with the contact page and go to the contact us form, and you can fill that out. It's like sending an email, but in a website. And you can also put in a fake email address as your email address in that form, and then we'll think it is spam.
That's right. But then we might delete it.
we might. But if you feel like you can't trust us with your email address, you can always put in a fake email address and send us to through our website. You can also watch us if you so desire to see our faces while we play video games. You can watch us on Twitch at Classic Gaming Brothers twitch.tv/Classic Gaming Brothers.
Yeah.
Or Zachary's View at twitch.tv/VS Classic Gaming Brothers.
Versus.
So that will be when we either go head to head or when we play cooperative games. Zachary will usually throw up his side.
Yep.
And you can also go to our YouTube at Classic Gaming Brothers and watch our YouTube videos, which are usually our Twitch streams and our podcast episodes. Yeah. Perhaps in the future we'll have some more YouTube content.
Yeah.
Like a little more productionalized stuff.
I mean, I was thinking of doing an unboxing of the Chex Quest game thing when I get it. Which is
that could be fun.
Going to be a few weeks down the line, but so yeah, keep an eye out for tons of new content that we're hoping to do.
Yeah, we're always looking for ideas. If there's something that you want us to see, perhaps a walkthrough or a long playthrough of a more serious nature, let us know. Well, maybe we can put something together. Finally, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. Our Facebook and our Instagram are at Classic Gaming Brothers, and our Twitter is CG Brothers Pod. and we will announce when we release our episodes in those groups. So you can feel free to like and subscribe and share from there. That's it. That's this episode.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. So, Zach, is there anything else?
Don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Zach.
And I've been Seth.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right. We have. So enjoy your day. Stay safe and keep fraud. I don't know. Is there anything that we should say after that? No, just roll music.